Hello, everyone in the LinkedIn universe. Thanks so much for jumping on and joining us today. I'm Victoria Mahoney from LinkedIn, and we're going to be talking today with Simon and Darren about how international student recruitment has been going digital since about March, and increasingly more so as we roll into whatever this new normal is going to look like in 2021. So like I said, I'm Victoria at Unibuddy, and I am a university partnership executive. Real quick, that means I talk to universities about how they can implement Unibuddy and fit it into their digital recruitment strategies that they're currently working with. Simon, do you want to kick it off and give us a little intro about you and yourself?
Sure, you bet. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thanks for joining us. My name is Simon Hamlin. I am the senior account executive at Study in the USA. I've been with Study in the USA for 8 years, and excited to talk with you all today.
Great, thanks so much. And Darren, do you want to give yourself a brief intro as well?
Sure. My name is Darren Grosch. I'm the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs at LA City College. And I've been really happy to be working with Study in the USA and Unibuddy now really since coming to LACC really back this summer. So excited to talk a little bit about some of the benefits that I've been seeing using both platforms.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Darren. So just to kick it off, I'm going to start off with a question, but if anyone in the audience throughout our time being live on LinkedIn today has questions, please don't hesitate to ask them to myself, Simon, or Darren, or everyone here in the group. But the first question we have is about recruiting international students. This has always seemed to be a pain point for us in the US, especially institutions nowadays. And 2020 seems to have turned it into a chronic challenge. So what has that been like for you, Darren, at LA City College?
I mean, some of the challenges obviously are more of the students that you normally would be recruiting for. So new students coming in on a new I-20 haven't been able to get really a visa because they're not able to go to an embassy or a consulate. So there's been those challenges. So those students that you normally would recruit, you're not seeing. And then additionally, obviously, if you're recruiting from local language schools or local high schools or transfer students, that's kind of been shut off too in terms of the high school market or the language school market, as those have also been struggling and seeing a reduction in students. So really, we've been really relying on the transfer students and trying to really recruit heavily into that marketplace. And I think one of the big shifts obviously has been a lot more virtual recruitment. So being thoughtful about, okay, well, what services are out there that we can utilize? So US Commercial Services has been a really great platform for virtual recruitment. But I think one of the benefits that I've really been seeing since, again, being at LAC, we've been really using Study in the USA and a lot more relational marketing and trying to connect with students on those kinds of platforms, both engaging the students who maybe potentially might come once we reopen our doors. And then, of course, the transfer market, I've been really struck by how many students in the US right now are using platforms like this to learn more about California or to learn more about Los Angeles. And so really tapping into that market has made it to where I can reach more potential transfer students in the United States, and hopefully attracting those students to my school in the immediate now, which is going to help my overall enrollment.
Darren, I love to hear that. For those of you who don't know out there, and I don't think Simon or Darren know this either, but I was a transfer student myself, not internationally or anything like that. But I love to hear whenever there's more support being given to transfer students, because it is such a huge population of students in the US right now. So that just warms my heart. Simon, have you been seeing similar things with other universities that you work with at Study USA in terms of, focusing more on transfer international students?
Yeah, and I was going to actually. So I had a follow-up question for Darren, and I'll answer your question too, Victoria. We've definitely we've seen schools kind of the areas that they're focused on shifting. So because of visa issues, because of just the natural issues with COVID, it seems like people's footprints, at least temporarily, have gone a little more local. So the more ways that they can find students who are either already in the US, or even better yet, local, like in the case of Darren being in the LA area, that seems to be becoming a bigger focus temporarily. That I think it's always a good thing to, to take care of your close footprint first. And right now it's just out of necessity. So I was just curious too, if Darren, you're seeing some of that in terms of getting hyper focused on, right around your immediate footprint.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, one of our big strategies, and really I would say since the summertime, has been to shift really into, okay, let's recruit and bring in as many transfer students as we can and concurrently enrolled students. So, okay, there's a number of universities around us. There's going to be some students maybe looking for classes to reduce the overall cost. And if you're going to be going to CSUN and it's online, you can save a little money by taking maybe a class or two at LA City College online. So trying to bolster the concurrently enrolled number or part-time student number, in addition to those transfer students that are looking to maybe shift, maybe they're in an area that they don't want to be in anymore. And so, coming to LA because it's online, is attractive for them. I think, again, with the initial status students, those who are seeking new I-20s, we're still engaging those students and talking with them. But the reality is they're not going to be really receiving those visas to come. So it's just staying engaged with them. So maybe we can think about fall or spring 2022. But again, really focusing on those transfer students, not just in California. I mean, really, I think at this point, it's anywhere in the US, there might be interest to come to California. And I'm happy to take that on.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for sharing all that, Darren. So I know you mentioned a little bit earlier about how Unibuddy and Study USA are some of the initiatives your team has taken on this year to better engage and touch these students. Can you share some other initiatives that you've also put in place, if there are any, in addition to these two?
Yeah. So aside from Study in the USA and Unibuddy, which are really just fantastic platforms for us to engage with potential students, of course, we do a lot of game nights. We do a lot of kind of, I'm going to say soft recruitment, but we do a lot of activities where we try to engage, again, the local footprint. So we work with our marketing team, LA City College. They in turn reach out and put out announcements which are seen by local language schools, local high schools. I work a lot with our outreach and recruitment specialists who deal with high schools. So we really are trying to see, as there's an increased number of international students who are in high schools, we try to reach out to them to invite them to our game nights. We do a lot of, we did a photo contest. It was a themed photo contest. What are you doing during quarantine? And we put that out to the international community. So we're on all sorts of other social media platforms. And we invited students, not just our students, but anyone out there could participate in this photo contest. And then we, I think had some really great engagement from potential students. It was really a nice, fun way to kind of see where folks were at and what they were doing during quarantine in El Salvador or in Panama or in China. It was pretty cool.
Great. Yeah, that sounds super interesting.
Nice.
I'll have to check out those photos afterwards. But I guess maybe it'd be useful for those who don't know out there who might be watching on LinkedIn. Simon and Darren, maybe tell us a little bit more about how Study USA and Unibuddy interact. And Darren, how have you utilized that throughout your recruitment process this year?
Cool. I'll let Simon go first on that, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, sure. The partnership with Unibuddy and Study in the USA kicked off several months ago. It's such a natural fit because, Study in the USA is a fabulous tool resource for attracting new student leads. And then Unibuddy is phenomenal with actually helping to nurture those leads. So, it's a partnership that we're really excited to be a part of. Right now, the partnership on our website, studyusa.com, we've got a page dedicated to Unibuddy student ambassadors. We've got a number of schools currently on our site that are involved in what we call the Discover program for the Unibuddy and Study in the USA partnership. And so that's a way to utilize student ambassadors on the Study in the USA profiles. And then in the coming months, we'll be expanding our offerings and starting to do some more comprehensive package options, which will announce it again in the coming months. So that's the initial effort so far, and it's been going really well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that it's been going well. Darren, do you have anything you want to add about how LACC specifically is utilizing this partnership and making the most out of it?
Yeah, I will, and I'm happy to see that Fiona just joined us too. She is one of our premier Unibuddy ambassadors for LACC, and I think what I found really interesting about Unibuddy is, one, it's attracting students from all over the world. So it's I wasn't really sure how Unibuddy was going to work in terms of who would be using the service, but the students that I'm seeing for us are everywhere from Southeast Asia to Europe to the Middle East. South America. I mean, it's really all over. Even in the United States, students are using this service. I think right now we have 2 Unibuddies. Fiona is a nursing student, so we get a lot of students who are coming to us interested in the nursing program. And I think one of the things I've noticed that we'll expand upon is having more Unibuddies with various majors, because students are coming to learn more about the major, not so much about LACC as a location destination, but as an institution that serves their specific major. And I think that's what we've really been seeing a lot of interest in. And I don't know if Fiona, you want to add anything about that?
Yeah, so hi everyone. Yeah, I've been, working for as ambassador since November, that a lot of students were reaching out to me. I have probably almost 20 students that I'm talking to right now on Unibuddy. So a lot of people come and reach out to me, ask for about related medical field, how I can apply for medical school. That's kind of a reach out over step, but I everything you can kind of do a research a little bit, and they need someone to talk to who already here, so I'm kind of research more and do that for them more. And probably 30% that asking for medical field, and then also just general questions, student want to apply, and then we get their contact email, and then been recruiting a little bit more students from Unibuddy too. And it's really grateful resources for students who want to come here and want to know more. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that, Fiona. I want to digress from both Unibuddy and Study USA for a second and say I'm super excited and really happy for you that you're studying to become a nurse. I think this entire year has shown us how important nurses, healthcare workers, and all essential workers are. So thank you for studying that and taking that into, an adventure and making that your career. So thank you.
Thank you.
So anyone have anything else on this topic before we move on to a little bit more about anything else with international students this year? No? Cool. And again, sorry, Darren, go ahead.
I do want to just say one of the things that we've been utilizing a lot and through Studying the USA has been the Facebook Live and the Instagram Live events. As well as we've been doing a lot of Instagram interviews through Study in the USA, and that has been awesome for recruitment. So we just had a Unibuddy student from Australia who was inquiring about our school, and she wanted to know more about being here in the USA. It's really easy to direct her to a Instagram live interview with one of our other Australian students that we did through Study in the USA to kind of showcase a little bit about what life was like. So it kind of really has all been intertwined. And I think those platforms have just been really fantastic for us in terms of putting out the word about who we are and getting student interest into our program.
Actually, and Darren, I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'm glad you brought up some alternative ways as well. Something that we talk about a lot at Study in the USA, just in terms of the student journey. And as I'm sure you've seen, it's never linear. It's never a straight line from a student finds out about you and your school, and then they apply and enroll. Mm-hmm. There's always all of these steps and all these paths that the journey takes. So, you've already brought up a couple of the Unibuddy student ambassador, the Facebook Live and Instagram Live sessions on Study in the USA. And there's so many other touch points and ways that students then interact with a school, and they're all equally important. They all help guide the student on that journey to ultimately applying and hopefully enrolling in your school.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Simon. It's all about, each different interaction throughout the enrollment process is equally as important as that first and last one, whether it be an initial email where they've just expressed interest in LACC, or, that final email saying, hey, you've been accepted and now submit your deposit, or congrats, you submitted your deposit. They're all so important. And it's a shame that some universities value some engagement touches more than others, but that is okay. Okay, so next question I have is about really for Darren, I think. So we've all seen a lot of policy changes and a political climate this year that has been unlike any other. It sent a lot of panic, I think, across both international students and even domestic students in some instances. So Darren, my question for you is, what are some of the ways that you've worked to create reassurance for your students during these interesting times, for a lack of better words?
I think Fiona can kind of piggyback off this. For our active students, it's been a lot of fireside chats, a lot of these conversations where we're able to really kind of address various topics. And so, we had a town hall that occurred 2 weeks after the election, specifically because we want to talk about the election and what that outcome would mean for, our students. Not knowing how the outcome was going to be, we timed it to be a couple weeks after the fact so we can have a better, clearer picture of, what direction that was going to go. But we have this constantly. We do, game nights. We've been doing our best to do a lot of virtual outreach and over communication with our students to really reassure them and to be transparent of where things are going and how that directly affects them. Obviously this summer we received the SEVP cable that talked a little bit about a potential policy change, and that came across, I think, to a lot of students as though that was an actual policy. And, explaining that, it's not an actual policy till it goes on the Federal Registry, and there's a lot that has to happen before that actually can occur, I think was helpful for students to really understand what all that really meant for them. So I would say over communication on various platforms, through email, through our Canvas online platform, through Zoom, through Google Hangouts. I mean, again, it's just been a lot of transparency. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Fiona, because I know you've done a lot with us in our office to over communicate with our students.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like, Darren's really, be a support, like, make our international student program really supportive for students. So during the time remember, like, so there's one time that the rule were out about international student, if you all remember, right? So we were all anxious and things like that. So Darren just right away, like, let's do town hall, let's get together, let's talk, and then what they can do, like, the program, like, figure it out and, like, kind of write a timeline platform for us, what we can do, what we don't, just be there for us. And yeah, that's all I want to add. Yeah, it's been really great that, we all have a support from the international student program. Yeah.
And I think Victoria and Simon, from the overseas students that we're trying to recruit, we really sell California. I mean, I think for us, we really are promoting study in California. Come to California. This is a great place to be. And I think really talking to students, about being here in LA, being here in California, what that is like is a way that we really try to, recruit and, inform prospective students about what it's going to be like here. Obviously, a lot of our students who are looking to come here are asking about what is the COVID situation like right now in Los Angeles. And, I think really talking a little bit about what that looks like on a local scale and then on a state scale has been really important as students are looking to make that decision on where they want to go. Some states you can go in person right now to study, and so students may be more inclined to go there, where other students, are not looking for that experience. So I think being transparent with them as well has been extremely helpful.
Absolutely. I think over communication and transparency are key at not just any university, but any company. At Unibuddy, we work really hard to make sure we're being super transparent and super clear about what's happening now, today, and tomorrow, and next week into the future as we continue to move into a strange world. And who knows what 2021 is going to look like, but I'm waiting to see. Awesome. So Fiona, you mentioned a little bit earlier about the types of questions that you get asked on Unibuddy. Can you tell us more about exactly what they look like? And then Darren, maybe tell us about some other types of questions that you've seen come through on the platform if Fiona doesn't cover all of them.
Yeah. So they were just like, hi, like just say hi to me first for sure. Introduce, like not many of them kind of like, we know that which country they're from, but then just usually like, I want to apply to study, like, can you give me more information about your school? I want to come to the US. Is there any scholarships available? How can I apply if I was like in my last year of like high school, what the process, and what if I want to study for language school. So actually LACC, we actually have just recently have academic for language academic program, so that we Darren created. So for us, so it's really new, so we try to working on that and push that out. And mainly it's all about general questions, how I can come here, how the rent, it's just so much general information. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's been a real common theme. Scholarships, unfortunately for us, and being in California, we don't really have scholarships to offer a new prospective student, but that has been a theme that we've been seeing. A lot of prospective students are asking and inquiring about scholarship opportunities. On-campus employment is another big question that we see and that we really try to answer. I think housing, that's another one too. And I think it always starts out general, and then it's our job to then keep engaging with the student. It's not just a one-off, they're going to ask us the question and then we wait until they respond. We're constantly, trying to have a conversation with folks back and forth on Unibuddy, directing them to other departments, other areas where maybe they can get, more information, whether they want to know more about the music program at LACC or whatnot. So how do we, direct them to the right location and then keep them engaged? But those are the main common ones we see a lot of: application process, scholarships, housing, and then subject-based type questions.
Yeah, I definitely know that employability and financial aid are some of the top kind of concerns for international students coming to the U.S. So outside of, Unibuddy and the comms that your team puts out, what other programs do you have for international students to address these topics?
Well, if you're talking in terms of if a student's looking to come here, how can we assist them with some of the resources that we have available? I mean, a lot of that's going to be, I think directly chatting with us. We have at LACC a lot of resources, whether it's food insecurity. We just recently put out a posting to our students who might need money for food. So we were able to give out, I think it was like $100 gift card so the students can go and get some food. So that's something that we provide our students. Or, for housing, there are a lot of shared housing options. We're able to go ahead and find those and, point them into that, type of direction. I think for the employment side of things, you're finding that a lot of students are looking to maybe, again, if they're transferring here, inquire about, can we get a job while we're a student at your school? And the answer is, through CPT, of course you can, and we can, direct you, on how to find that through our career center. So we try to really do our best to address the question that they have, and then we have a resource available for them. And our staff is nimble and quick to also respond, and I think address the needs of the students that they, I feel like they have a good experience with us.
That's great. And now I have a question, maybe for Simon, maybe for Darren, maybe for the two of you. Since you have started, Darren, using Unibuddy Discover through Study USA, what kind of metrics have you been measuring in terms of engagement levels? I guess just tell me about like how you're measuring success with the platform and the two working together. Darren or Simon,
Darren,
anything?
do you want to?
Sorry, it froze a little bit.
Add on that, Darren? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
that's okay. Sorry, just whoever can tell me a little bit.
So obviously, I think in terms of our inquiry report, we get an inquiry report every week for Studying in the USA. So we have an inquiry report, and then from there we have our own inquiry, list that we utilize. And so we're emailing the students both individually, and then we of course do mass emailings as well. from that list, we're able to see, okay, if so-and-so student from the inquiry list on our own inquiry sheet have applied, then we're able to see and we track, okay, who's actually submitted an application from that inquiry list, and then who from that application submission has actually come to us. So right now, for example, for the fall semester, I have 3 transfer students that I've accepted and admitted into our college through study in the USA, which is a really good number overall, I think. In terms of Unibuddy, we have an Excel sheet as well, and then Unibuddy has its own platform. It's got a pretty nice diagnostic. We're able to really utilize that and see. But through Unibuddy, same thing. We track and we're able to see, okay, from the Unibuddy platform of who we're speaking to, how many have actually applied. Like we just had a student who is applying for fall 2021, which is a little far out, but she still applied, and that was through Unibuddy, and that was an international student, from Australia. So there's one right there, and we just started using that platform really in, I would say, Fiona, mid-September. So that's how we're really keeping track. Unfortunately, we are not linked up, or we don't have this linked up to a CSM. So we're having to kind of do that manually in addition to what we're being provided by through studying in the USA and in Unibuddy. But we're really happy with the results so far that we've seen. Again, having 3 transfer students come to us through study in the USA and seeing applications come in through Unibuddy has been a pretty big positive for us.
Yeah, I love to hear those success stories. It sounds like both are working quite swimmingly for you. Simon, do you have any insight or any advice to Darren himself or anyone else out there who's using Study USA and Unibuddy together or separately, and how to increase optimization of their engagement that they're receiving on any of the platforms?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, it's really encouraging to hear the successes that you've had so far, Darren, especially, that quick of a turnaround time, because usually like a student cycle, it's anywhere from 6 to 12 months to 2 years, that students are investigating schools to ultimately applying and enrolling. So that's encouraging. And, from our standpoint, it's helpful to get feedback from schools as far as the actual number of applications and enrollees that they get. It's something that we can run cross checks on based on, connections with Unibuddy student ambassadors or student leads that come in. But a lot of times we're relying on schools to ultimately let us know, who has applied, who's enrolled. So that's really encouraging. And as far as, how schools can best optimize Unibuddy and Study in the USA, I would say this is going to kind of circle back to that student journey. It's really about finding as many different ways to connect with and engage with students. So in addition to connecting with, a Unibuddy student ambassador, are there any other types of follow-ups you can do with those students? Being proactive with things like Instagram Live and Facebook Live, with that student database that you have, that comes through Study in the USA and then is nurtured through the Unibuddy ambassadors. Are there other frequent emails that you can send out to keep those students engaged? Because we really do find that it takes a lot of what we call touches, a lot of follow-ups to really, engage with students. Oftentimes they'll connect initially and then you won't hear from them, but it doesn't always mean that they're not interested. It's just like anyone else, they get busy, they get sidetracked. So I think a big part of any good, marketing plan is that follow-up process and making sure that there are a lot of follow-ups in place.
Yeah, you have a great point, Simon. Just because students aren't answering emails or engaging with content doesn't mean that they aren't interested. They just might be busy balancing virtual school themselves or a family sickness or their own sickness, or you never know what the instance is in their unique situation.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So Darren, I have another question for you. How have you been able to pre-plan for 2021, given that we have no idea what this spring semester or the summer is going to look like or what it's going to hold? I know I myself am trying to be very optimistic, but again, we have to plan for both the best and worst case scenario. So tell me a little bit about your planning for the spring.
Yeah, I think in terms of recruiting, it is really doing more relational like marketing and doing and investing more in our Unibuddy platform and doing more Instagram Live, Facebook Live events, and really trying to just put ourselves out there. And like Simon mentioned, following up, I mean, we follow up a lot with our students that have inquired. We don't just exist on the Study in the USA website. It's you get the inquiry reports and you need to follow up individually with these students and really make sure that you can connect with them and then direct them to like Fiona, to students who they can then connect with and continue to follow up with. So it really is kind of a longer process. And I think we're going to continue to really invest our time into that direction. I think, again, we're really focusing on looking at transfer students, looking at students who want to maybe be part-time students with us. But I think engaging with those students who have expressed interest in wanting to come to us in fall 2021 or spring 2022, which I think realistically that is going to be, I feel like when we really admit students onto our campus, at least that's how I'm thinking about it in my mind. I don't want to oversell or promise a student that we're going to be ready to go in person in fall 20. Again, I think keeping them engaged throughout this entire process will be really important. And hopefully at the end of the day, they'll come and choose us. But really focusing a lot on this type of marketing is going to be, big for us. In addition to, of course, the virtual fairs. But what I like about this is that, our students that we're talking to, that's what they're really interested in. I had a great conversation with one of your colleagues, Simon Sandrin, and she kind of really, I feel like, crystallized it for us that students are looking at something different than what I as a parent are going to be looking for. And, as a parent, like Sandra mentioned, you're looking at maybe like the mission statement of a school, but the student is looking at the student experience. And so we want to make sure we can provide all of those touches for all parties so they can go ahead and really get a good overview of what it's going to be like being at LACC.
That actually raises a good question in my brain, Darren. Are you doing any specific events or outreach to parents of prospective students?
Yeah, so we've linked up with our outreach department. They actually do parent nights every second Friday. So we put that out to prospective parents. I have a slot where I'm available to go ahead and be a part of that campaign. So we invite parents to be a part of that every Friday or every second Friday of the month. I also do office hours. That sounds kind of funny to say, but I have Zoom hours available both in the morning on a Wednesday morning and then at night on a Friday or on a Thursday night. So we're trying to be open to various time zones, and we invite parents or we invite students to come and join us. I had a parent and a student from India who joined me simultaneously to ask questions about our program. So I do find too that sometimes on the conversation with their, with their son or daughter.
Yeah. You're 100% right. Parents are worried about different things than the student themselves, and that is always the case and will always be the case. Fiona, I have a question for you. Do you have any advice to prospective students out there who are trying to navigate this now virtual student recruitment journey and trying to figure out where to go to college? Any advice for any of them?
So, I mean, right now it's like, everybody, just stay focused and just do as much as research that you can. And then, try to, if you have a resources or people who you can ask for, just come. Like, for example, we here available on Unibuddy, right? So, and we also have our website, email, yeah, just be focused. And it's really hard, but, to do things during quarantine and COVID-19 right now. But, eventually what we do and what we invest into, so eventually it's going to become what we want and grow. So just have to focus, and we all here for you for that.
Great. Thanks, Fiona. And now, Darren, I have another question for you. In terms of students who may not be able to land on campus this fall and who may have to defer to fall 2022, as wild as that might sound, how are you planning on keeping them interested in coming back with that timeline being so far away?
Regarding prospective students or current students, because I think, one of the interesting things is for our current students, some of them have returned home to continue studying with us. And so trying to keep them engaged and to keep them connected to our campus really has been an interesting experience. And I think we've done our best to try to keep them engaged and hopefully they continue with us, because I think a lot of them felt like they were going to be able to come back in spring 2021 to take classes on campus, and that just is not the case. So assuming that the administration that is going to be coming in is going to keep that policy going to where a student who is a current student can study in their home country while being online. Our hope is that they remain engaged and they stay engaged with us, and we can still provide them services that they need that will make it relevant for them to stay with us at LACC or any community college. I think for prospective students, what we're seeing is for those students who are looking to come to a school in fall 2021, if they aren't able to come here, again, I'm pretty transparent. And if they have a program and, the international education community is pretty small, I'm always happy to direct them to a state or a location where those students can maybe prosper. We actually had Hawaii Pacific University do a presentation for our students and for current students and prospective students who maybe want to transfer. And since they are doing online still here in California, isn't the case in Hawaii. So we wanted to give them that opportunity to maybe find another school they could transfer to, and have that in-person experience. HPU is doing a really great job where they're doing, I think, a match for California in-state tuition prices right now for anyone who comes and studies there for a year. But, it's a small community, so I'm always happy to direct the students to the school that maybe is going to best serve them. And if they're best served, here with us, then we'll do whatever we can to make sure that they have hopefully an experience with us come, spring 2022 when we're back on campus.
I love to hear that, Darren. I think kudos to you and your team for noticing that, LACC might not be the right fit for every student out there, but it's about doing what you can to help that student find where they are best fit. I know I probably would not have prospered in an online virtual learning world. So that's really great that you're helping students kind of figure out where they want to be, because at the end of the day, it's about making sure that the student themselves succeeds and is happy with where they're studying and has a good experience overall.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think that is what is the most important thing, and to really help them really achieve their educational goals. And it may not be LACC. And I think, again, knowing people in this field, like, you can really connect the student with the right location that's going to be a good fit for them is really valuable, for the student and their family too. I think you don't want to mislead anybody.
And for their wallet. I mean, at the end of the day, this is not a cheap investment.
So. It is not a cheap investment. No, it is not.
Well, I don't have any more questions. Simon, do you have any last kind of talking points or thoughts you want to run through?
Well, I did see a question. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. I see a question. How do you manage timetabling for overseas students at this time?
Oh, good question.
I don't know. That might be more of a Darren question, but I'm not sure I'm completely understanding when referring to timetabling for overseas students. Is that meaning like when to connect with them, or I guess I'd just love a little more information on specifically what that question is referring to hopefully be able to help answer it, or if Darren, can answer it. So
yeah, I mean, what I'll just say, and maybe as I talk, maybe you'll correct me on the question, but to me, if I have a student who's looking to come here for fall 2021, which I have students who are talking to me now, I'm going to provide them resources. And then throughout the spring semester, I'll continue to invite them to various programs that we're offering, whether it's going to be our, every other Friday outreach or my own events that I host, and just keep them engaged. If that student, again, we can do I-20s to these students. It's not like we're not issuing the I-20. We'll issue them, and the student is able to get that that visa and they're able to come in, our hope is for fall 2021, we'll have some in-person classes for students that we can actually enroll them in, so they could, in theory, come, here. We don't know, but I think again, it's going to be a matter of we're going to just stay on the same timetable that we normally would be, keep them engaged, and as we get closer to fall 2021, if the student is like, I can't get that visa to come to your school, hopefully we've given them other options and other schools to apply to, because they can have multiple I-20s as well, and they can hopefully get into the school that they want to go to. That goes for scholarships too. When a student asks me about a scholarship, yes, the other states have scholarships for students. If they want to go to Kansas or Alabama or Mississippi or North Dakota, those states typically maybe do have scholarships for students, because they're looking to attract students. Where unfortunately in California we don't really have a lot that we can offer, unless we're a private school perhaps, and we're really already expensive, and so we're going to reduce the cost to make it seem more affordable. But I think we're going to direct students and give them that range of options, so hopefully they have other I-20s that they can think about. And if they really want to come to school in fall 2021 in person into the US, and they have to know that they got to maybe think about a different state.
I hope that answered your question out there in the LinkedIn world.
Yeah. And I think you're right on, Darren, and this is probably kind of a good ending note, and just something for people to take with them is just how important it is, like, to kind of not change your timetable. I mean, yeah, the student might ultimately enroll at a different time than would have normally happened, but I think every other aspect of the process of communicating with that student, nurturing that student lead, making sure they're getting the information they need, and that process doesn't need to change, and really shouldn't. I think the biggest mistake is if schools kind of put a hold on all their efforts, all their marketing efforts, and wait until things clear up and then decide to pick back up, as opposed to what Darren's illustrated so beautifully throughout this conversation of really finding ways to adapt, and maybe you do some things a little bit different, and find some ways to adjust, but you still have a very strong effort and a consistent effort, that you're always implementing.
I agree, Simon. I mean, I really hope people, it would be crazy to not really be more active with our students right now. I think now's the time to engage and to invest in these types of platforms, and to really utilize some of these amazing services that are available to us, and to take advantage of that. I think to not be engaged right now, because I'm sure of various financial reasons, would be a mistake. I think this is the time to invest and to really get out there, because it's going to get better. It's just a matter of, when it does get better, are you positioned to really, I think, see that interest come back to your school. So I agree with you, Simon.
Yeah. And we've actually, another thought just popped in. One of the cool things during this time has been a lot of just the new ways people are thinking about and actually acting on connecting with students. I mean, your example of like Facebook Live and Instagram Live, that was something that Study in the USA wasn't involved in at all last year. And so I think it's almost like working a muscle, when we're continuing to work on these marketing campaigns, we're continuing to refine our muscles, and we're not letting them atrophy, and we're actually finding new ways, some new ways that we wouldn't have thought about, and we wouldn't have found if we weren't still engaged in this process. And like things like Instagram Live and Facebook Live are good examples of that. And I'm sure we'll talk in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, and we'll be talking about something new that we hadn't even thought about, because we're still working those muscles, those recruiting and marketing muscles, and we're finding new ways to make this work. So I'm actually excited, hopefully in the next couple months and 6 months and year, to see and hear about all the new things that people are stumbling across in these efforts.
I think it's super interesting as well, Simon. I know prior to 2020, TikTok might not have even been a thing. And now there's universities who are using TikTok for admissions and marketing outreach. And I guess I have to ask, is Study USA exploring any future TikTok engagement ideas?
Yeah, I think we're always, well, I mean, we do utilize TikTok, and I think, you know, as has been the case, really always with Study in the USA, if we find tools and techniques and different things that are going to benefit our schools and benefit our students in really helping them to go on this journey, then we're gonna find ways to implement it. And that it's really, you know, how the relationship with Study in the USA and Unibuddy came about. We recognized that there was this need, and you know, found Unibuddy, and saw the great work that you guys were doing, and so that's how this relationship started. So TikTok, you know, we'll see in the future.
That's awesome. Darren, any last final thoughts before we wrap this up and let the rest of LinkedIn go back to doing whatever they were doing on LinkedIn before they joined our live stream?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, I think, again, it's been a really great experience working with Study in the USA and Unibuddy. And I wasn't really sure how Unibuddy was going to work when we first heard about it. You know, yeah, I would say that my initial thought was, okay, it's another thing I'm going to have to really figure out how to manage, because, you know, again, you can't just exist, you have to be engaged. And so what is that process going to be like? But I found it to be really easy to engage in. I have, again, you know, the ISP office at LACC is very small. You know, we don't have it's not a huge staff, but we have a really great team. And I don't know, I mean, I think Fiona and our other ambassador, Johnny, have done a really great job engaging with our students and then ensuring that we're then able to follow up. So it's been a really easy platform to utilize. And same with Study in the USA. I've taken part in so many types of platforms like Study in the USA before, but Study in the USA really is by far, I feel like, one of the best platforms I've been a part of or that I've seen in my decade of doing, you know, this type of work. It allowed us to engage with students directly in a different kind of way, whether it's a blog post that we're able to post on Study in the USA, or Instagram Live, or Facebook Live, or videos that we can push out. Unibuddy, I mean, all these things have been really key in us, I think, really maintaining our enrollment and not sinking. We're able to really maintain, and I think that's a huge win for us. And again, all this has really been easy to do because the platforms are really simple to utilize. The training was great for Unibuddy. I know Fiona did the training, and it was a really awesome, easy experience. It wasn't hard to do. So I just think if you're not using these tools, you're kind of missing the boat on this. And I think that it's a real shame if you don't take advantage of this type of marketing, because it really is going to be here to stay.
I agree. And Fiona, correct me if I'm wrong, but in very simple terms, all you're doing is telling other students what your life is like on a day-to-day basis. That's all prospective students want to know, is what is it actually like to be a student at LACC?
Yeah, usually asking me that, or like some student were like, you know what, I got accepted to other state, but I'm like planning, maybe I want to move to LA, how life be, food, people, like LA is a very, very diverse city. So, and also like, because actually originally I'm from Thailand. So, and I really miss Thai food a lot, but it's just like not many miles away, there is Thai town. So, or, like Little Tokyo. So students come here, and, if you miss home, is diverse city. And yeah, lives here people is awesome because, a lot of, that's why I say like it's diversity. So you easier to find people who came from your country, and also like people more open minded here anyway for to learn a new culture. So yeah, it's been great. Mm-hmm.
That was very well put, Fiona. Thank you. And there's no more questions coming through the chat. So I think that's really the end of all we have to tell you, all LinkedIn folk, today. Fiona, Darren, and Simon, I know I speak on everyone at Unibuddy when I say thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, so I think that's about all we have, unless anyone has any last final thing to say that's just burning in the back of their brain. No? Awesome. Well, again, thank you everyone so much for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.